chummy. Yeah, yeah.
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Who are you to doubt El Dandy?
Will you stop?
The time has come to relieve that pain, which will be better for me, but not so enjoyable for all of you.
Yo. Yo.
Just determined to make me talk over this music, aren't you? Determined to force me to enjoy it. Fine. Hi, everybody. It's hashtag WrestlePals. Hi, how are you? Oh, wait. Go ahead. I can't hear them. Justin, I can't hear them. Oh, hey, look over there. It's hashtag WrestlePal Justin.
Oh, that's me.
I introduced you early so you can talk.
Yeah.
How are you? And hi.
I'm happy.
And what?
Liv got drafted. This music was played on Monday.
Oh.
She was the very last pick.
Uh-huh.
But she got picked.
She make an appearance? You see her?
No, not yet.
Still a secret?
Still secret. I know she's got blonde hair. I seen it on Sarah Logan's Instagram.
So she tells us, never mind. Hi, I'm not getting sucked down this hole with you again. This is ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous.
Hi, hi, I'm hashtag WrestlePal Nate. It'll be okay. Hi.
I guess I'm gonna have to go into actual Facebook to see the chat.
Yeah, this is fine. Oh dear Lord, look at us. Ridiculous. I like the Halloween theme, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice, which is fantastic because my head looks like a giant pumpkin. You've gotten so slight. Look at you.
Thanks.
So I meant that complimentarily. Should I sit further back? There's like no amount of perspective that's gonna make us look anywhere like similar species.
Damn, Brian. Damn, Justin, you lost a few pounds.
Hey, a few, right? Look at him. It's ridiculous. You want a sandwich?
I'm fine. I don't need no sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Don't go. Confident Justin is a disturbing thing.
And great.
Well, also disturbing. Must admit to that one first.
Nah. I'll do nothing of the sort.
Oh, Justin.
Let me see if I need to give a little bit more me.
Huh?
I love me some me.
Ew.
You want to do this? Do we want to do this?
I'm scared.
Why?
I'm scared. I get scared.
As evidenced by you not being here for 2 weeks.
There's more discussion to be had.
Off air, probably.
I'm having some hard times. Please,
Hard
please
times!
don't. Just because I say the damn words doesn't mean you have to. I know you know word for word. Please don't put your hand. No.
Put your hand in mine, Daddy.
Do not put your hand out to them. Don't put your hand out in his. Hey, if you see him in person, fine. Put your hand out in his. Oh, what was that?
I'm pumped.
Really?
Liv got drafted. We're
Okay.
about to talk to Jimmy Jacobs.
Oh, dear God.
You're
Terrified.
scared.
Of course I'm scared. I'm always scared.
That's one of the first things we're going to tell him.
That I'm scared?
That you're scared.
Okay.
Should I dial him up? You ready?
Well, no, I'm fine. Hold on. Hold, please.
What the?
What? Why are you listening to me? Why have you ever listened to me?
All right, I'm
Today's
dialing.
the day?
I'm dialing. Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Jacobs joining us.
Yes, here I am.
I got to tell you, before we jump into this, Nathan's scared.
Well, yeah. This is. Of course I am. I'm easily scared. Please don't take it personally. It's just I get
There's
scared.
nothing to be scared of.
That's exactly what I hear every time.
And
Nothing to be scared of ever about anything. Life is fatal. You're going to die. This is it.
Wait. No, those are the things I'm scared about, though. Those are the problems that are. Oh,
No, but yeah, of course. We all have this fear of death, and the fear of death creates all these like idiosyncrasies and these functional neuroses. You know, we've created things like religion, and we've created all sorts of different things to try to, you know, we get married, we have kids, we try to procreate, we have legacies, all these things to try to avoid the fact that, yes, someday you will die. So it's okay. You can be scared, but it's all right. You're going to die someday.
Oh.
You should just face that.
But see, and this is the thing, though. Like, number one, he's being legit. I don't know if you know this, Nathan, but he does the Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know podcast. And this is a lot. This is the main reason I wanted to have you on the show, because I love the pod, man. I'm not trying to kiss ass because I got you here. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
I appreciate that so much, man. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I'm enjoying doing it.
But I do want to start here because obviously you're a professional wrestler. Your background is in professional wrestling. So I want to start with this. What is professional wrestling?
I would say professional wrestling is a sort of like a performance art of simulated action, simulated fighting that you use to tell a story and create an emotional bond with people, or hopefully entertain them to the point where they pay money to see it.
So, a few years back, let's put a time frame here. A few years back, you get fired from WWE. So let's put the timeline. The picture with Bullet Club, the firing, the sobering up. What's the timeline there?
Yeah, so I went to rehab in it was like April 29th of 2017, and then I got fired. I took the picture of the Bullet Club like the end of September of 17, and I got fired like a week or two later. It was like October 5th. So
it didn't take long, but I believe that. So between sobering up and being fired, I believe you've said, and I don't mean to misquote you, this is actually the best thing that's ever happened to you.
I mean, yeah, yes. I mean, it all started with my girlfriend breaking up with me, and that's something that I still struggle with. But you also have to go, oh, thank you for doing that, because that's really the catalyst that led me to sobering up, which led me to getting my head straight, which led me to getting fired from WWE, which led me here, man. It's great. Yeah, I mean, you have to appreciate your misery and your suffering and your pain. I know while you're in it, it seems like it's this pointless suffering. It seems like it's this unnecessary thing, but suffering and pain is ultimately like what you grow from. It's ultimately like when you come out on the other side of that, you come out better than you went in. So I have a certain appreciation for any of those difficult times.
Oh yeah, it gives relief. The good times aren't as good without the bad times being as bad as they can be.
They're inextricably linked.
Oh yeah.
Like if everything was good, then nothing would be good. Mm-hmm. Like we we conceptualize things through contrast, right? You wouldn't know what good was if there wasn't bad. So they're inextricably linked. Really, they're the same thing. Implicitly, they're different, but explicitly they're different, but implicitly they're the same thing. And like basically always, I mean, the story of humanity, like, you know, humans, we connect with stories so much. If you ask any person their story, hey, what's your story? Tell me a story that's important to you. Tell me something that's important to you. The story about yourself that's important to you. The story will be something about something bad happened to them, or their life was good, something bad happened to them, and they came out the other side better than they went in when the bad thing happened. That is just the human story. We identify with that so much. That's why there's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. That's why in a wrestling match there's the shine, the heat, the comeback. I mean, it's a bit formulaic, but
it works.
It's what it's what humanity is, man.
It's why we relate to it, why we grab onto it, why we gravitate towards it. It's amazing. I think there's 7 billion of those stories walking the earth right now, and countless in the past.
Yes, yeah, exactly, man. Everybody's got one, and it's all of that similar storyline, that story arc. So I try not to lose sight of that anymore, and try to, you know, appreciate that. Because like the first thing is, like, you talk about this sucks, you know, the girlfriend broke up with me, I went to rehab, or I got fired, like, this sucks. Like, we have no idea what's even good for us in the first place. You know, we think things are good for us that aren't. We think things are bad for us that aren't. And things aren't all good, or they aren't all bad. There's some sort of combination of the two. So really the problem, I think, comes in when we start to label things. We label things as good or bad or whatever. It's just if you observe things for what they are and just say, okay, this is happening, it makes life a little clearer.
Yeah, you get a lot of people trying to keep score instead of enjoying the ride.
So, kind of along that conversation of labels, something you're kind of coming to grips with is not even, I mean, you're trying to find Chris, really, especially with the pod, but in trying to find who Chris is it helping you find who Jimmy Jacobs is, or are they completely separate at this point in your life?
I mean, the thing that I found is that they're just both characters, and they're both characters from a different from different aspects of my life. Where I've come to, it's helped me not take any of it so seriously. Like, I don't take Chris seriously. I don't take Jimmy Jacobs seriously. I just don't take any of it seriously, because it's all just like a fun, like, life's play. You know, that's what it's taught me. It taught me that life's play. It's not permanent. It will end, and so just enjoy it and don't take any of it too seriously.
And so, like, if somebody were to say, well, who is Jimmy Jacobs? We all kind of go to that, well, you know, he's a pro wrestler, he's the zombie princess. Like, are you having an easier time, like, letting go and not being okay with not having a definition to who Jimmy Jacobs is? Or,
I mean, I guess what it comes down to, what I found is that there is no Jimmy Jacobs. There is no Chris. Like, it doesn't exist. You know, it's just a character that I've created, an identity that I've made up. Just like we've all made up our identities. We have these. When they were talking about stories earlier, we all have these stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. We can say, "Oh, I'm a pro wrestler. I'm smart. I, went to college, and I, had these parents, and I have a brother, and when I was too small for wrestling, but I did it anyway, and I kept working hard, and I was addicted to drugs." And all these are just stories, man. They're just stories, and it's like it's not real. It's just like a part of a character you play, So when it comes down to it, it's like, what is Chris? It's like, okay, let's say I'm smart. I used to think I was really smart, right? And they go, okay, you're smart. And I go, okay, fine, you're smart. Then who are you when you're stupid?
Yeah.
Well, are you not yourself anymore? I was like, well, no, I'm still myself, but I'm stupid. I go, okay, fine. So you're smart sometimes, you're stupid other times, and you're everything in between. So really, you're all of it, which means you're none of it. You're neither smart nor stupid. You just are. And you can kind of go through that with any sort of attribute, and then you can start to look at other things. You say, hey, I'm a pro wrestler, or I'm this or that. And it's like, who are you when you're not a pro wrestler then? Who are you when you're not professionally wrestling? Who are you when you're doing this? And you realize there is no constant of you. There is no constant you. There is no you that is unchangeable. There is no you that there's a core that inside. It's just this ever sort of changing thing, a thing that's pretty malleable that you can manipulate sort of however you want. And anyway, how you define yourself, it's always in relation to other things as well, which means like you actually aren't you in the first place, because you are. If you want to define you as something, it ends up being where you define yourself by other things, which means that you are these other things.
You're labeling yourself, therefore you're negating your worth. You're cutting off 90% of what you really are. When as soon as you identify yourself as one thing.
Well, you can identify yourself as a million things, but it's just like you can't identify yourself. Like if I say who's Justin and who's the other guy?
Nathan.
Hello,
Ethan. If I say Ethan, who's Ethan? What would you respond with?
I'm sorry. It was Nathan.
Nathan. All right, Nathan. Ethan. Nathan. You're Nathan. Okay, who are you when you're not named Nathan?
I think that proves the point more. Yes.
Yeah. No, but who's Nathan? Would you say?
Oh my God,
you asked the right one.
You've hit me at a weird dark time in my life too. So man, I am struggling with that question daily as parameters redefine in my own life. So I have no idea in this moment. I think the best answer is I'm here. I've made it to this point in time, in this moment of existence.
That's it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. You hit the nail on the head, man. Like everything else is made up. Everything else is changing. Everything else is here and there. Everything else, like I said, if I want to say I'm a professional wrestler, what I'm saying is I do something outside of me. If I say I'm a person that breathes, it means there's action that was the outside of the inside. If I'm a person that sits, I'm a person that sits on a couch. If I'm a person that walks, I walk on the floor. If I'm a person that's loyal, I only know I'm loyal because at some point there are people that are unloyal. So I only know that in comparison to other people. Basically, you can't define yourself with just yourself. There's nothing about you that is only you. It's like you doing something in the universe. Like you are interconnected to the universe. You are the universe, really. Which means you're everything and you're nothing, which is awesome. It's great news. So you say, I'm here. It's like, yes, that's it. That's all you can know. All you can know is I am. That's it. That's the only thing. When you clear out your mind, you clear out everything, and it is just you, you realize there's one thing you can know, and that is I am. You have consciousness. You have awareness. That is it.
Now, how much does this journey do you attribute to your sobriety, and do you find that it's easier to remain sober, like losing that label of, well, who is Chris? He's a sober guy. Like not having that, does it make it easier to just remain that way?
So the sobriety is a funny thing because sobriety ended up just being a label too, man. Mm-hmm. So I went to rehab, and as soon as I got out of rehab, I was like, oh man, I want to do acid. Because acid, like, look, man, if you guys do psychedelics, I don't know if you have or haven't, but it's not the same as the other stuff. It's just not. And so right after I got rehab, I was like, oh, man, I want to do acid. It helps me, connect to the universe and all this sort of stuff. And I go, no, I shouldn't. Maybe that's the addict in me talking, right? And so I waited a whole year, and finally after a year, I went, all right, you know what? I'm going to do it. And then I did it, and then as soon as it kicked in, I went, man, I wish I had done this 6 months ago. And I was like, I get why I waited, and I'm glad I didn't do it flippantly. But it was like, and when I was there, I go, it's like, of course, being sober is just another false identity that you create for yourself. You like to have this thing where you go, I'm this many days sober, I'm this many days clean, and then it becomes a character that you start to play, right? And you go, that's just fake too. I'm not my sobriety, right? I am not that. That's not me. So that's not to say I do psychedelics, like I would say once a month, once every other month, to connect with the universe, connect with my higher self, however you want to say that. And that's just a tool. It's a tool that, maybe I'd use less at some point. I'm not sure. But it's just a tool sometimes I use to recalibrate and to see the person I want to be and to see the universe how I would like to see it in a more abiding manner.
But you want those ups and downs on and off of it at the same time, too. If you're on it all the time, you wouldn't get the relief of being off of it, or being able to have that contrast between the two.
Well, psychedelics. You've never done them before?
I have not, but I've been around those that have, and it's been an interesting experience just being close to and around it. It's fascinating to watch from the outside, but I've never partaken myself.
We're squares over here, man.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It's great. Yeah, so psychedelics are non-addictive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unlike, like opioids had me by the balls, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that just, for 12 years, that just had me by the balls and just on and off and just addicted and it ruled my life every day. And
yeah, it dictates what you're going to do. It makes you do the things you wouldn't normally do to get back to serving it. Yeah.
It's awful. Psychedelics are not like that. There's a thing just on 60 Minutes this past weekend where Michael Pollan was on there talking about how they use, psilocybin, or they're doing studies on psilocybin, using it to treat addiction. Actually, Bill W., the founder of AA, famously used LSD. I mean, it's not to be used flippantly, but there's something going on with them that they have quite the potential,
Yeah, but in that also breeds fear in people that, we can't control it. We don't know exactly what it's doing, so we're hesitant to partake and or let others partake, and that's where you get the fear from the outside of the use of it.
Yeah, and they really outlawed studies of it. What was it, in the 1960s, I believe, with Timothy Leary and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they recently started doing some studies selectively with it, which I think is a step forward. And they're becoming mainstream again, but they kind of are. You got Joe Rogan on his podcast, constantly talking about that, constantly talking about DMT and things like that. So you can only hide from this expansion of consciousness for so long. And again, I don't want to, put these drugs on this pedestal, but they've been beneficial in my journey. I'll say that.
So, speaking of psychedelics, some of the conversations you're having and again, I am here to put Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know on a pedestal. This is a great wrestling podcast that is not about wrestling. Okay. You had a discussion with PJ Black maybe a month ago, I think. And, if anyone who doesn't follow the independent scene, maybe just watch WWE, he wrestled there as Justin Gabriel. Just a wild conversation. Did you know that going in, the kind of conversation, like the you guys went into the weeds, man?
Man, dude, I had no idea. I had met PJ in passing, over the years, but I didn't know him well at all. And I had my friend sort of set up this interview, and she said, he's got DMT too, if you want to do that, which I had tried it before a few years back. And so I definitely wanted to try it again, which I did, which was just insane, by the way. Just absolutely like the most intense experience of my life. Just, I don't even know where to begin. But yeah, man, PJ is just fascinating. I had no idea. I knew he was like he jumped out of planes and did base jumping and that sort of like thrill seeking stuff. And I sort of expected to talk to him about that, which I don't think we talked about at all.
Yeah, barely, if any.
Yeah, I don't think almost at all. It was just, he studies and he reads all these books and he's into all this awesome stuff and seeing the world in a different plane than most people do. And that's sort of where I'm going. It's like, I think there's something more out there, right? I think there's more than what we experience. There's more than what we see. And it's like, what is that thing? I mean, I was just reading the other day that the human eye can see 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum, which means that 99.9 something percent of what's going on around us, we can't see. Which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And we can only hear within certain decibels or whatever. We can only smell within certain things. It's like there's so much we're not sensing, and you gotta figure there's ways to sense the universe and to sense existence that we don't even have those capabilities to. I talked to Seth Rollins about this, but it's like, for a long time when animals were around, like there were no eyes. There were no such thing as eyes. Like animals, like they went around, they smelled things and whatever. And then at some point, some grew eyes. And it's like, wow, this thing called sight exists. Like if you were some sort of slug before, you had no idea that things could be seen, that like visuals were a property of the universe. And so it's like, well, what are other properties of the universe that we just haven't developed a sense for yet? And so it's like there's something else out there. There's something else going on. And it's really neat to come across somebody who knows, who's like further along that journey than you are. And PJ was just super interesting, man.
So, I mean, on that, do you think there will be a time, obviously probably not in our lives, maybe it'd be neat a couple generations down, but do you think that is something that will develop in the human, I guess, to make it simpler in our lifetime, or do you think that's way further down the line?
A sixth sense. I mean, you're talking about we evolved through millions of years of evolution. So I mean, who knows what another sense would take to evolve? Or maybe sight and sound and smell and taste and touch are the only attributes of our universe. It just feels like it would be convenient if we just had all five and that was it. Like there's no other ways to sense what's going on around us.
And maybe one of those things that we don't have, we just haven't had a way to define it yet. That weird little tickle in the back of your neck. Everyone knows it. Everyone's experienced it. Everyone's felt presences, but we don't know how to define it or explain it to someone else or communicate through just the words that we have, these weird thoughts that we have. So we can't define it to someone else. Hey, have you ever felt this thing that I can't define? Mm-hmm. It's hard to get a yes back on that. So yeah, it may be there. It may be right on the cusp of it.
Yeah, there's so much going on. And I think it's arrogant when people think like what we know is what is.
Yeah.
It's like,
dude,
definitely. Get out of here, man. Get out of here with that. So when people are just completely skeptical about anything, it's like, hey, man, be skeptical. Of course, but I mean, how often throughout humanity have scientists and people in power thought that they had the answers? I mean, you got to figure about, let's say, half of what we know now isn't right, and the other half is just surrounded on all sides with what we don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I always say, you find those people that think they know everything. They immediately they've cut themselves off from learning anything new. They're immediately unopen to anything new, and they'll never learn anything new. Everything they know is everything they're ever going to know at that point.
Exactly.
The only way to get smart is to realize really how dumb you are, and be open to being made smarter. I'm stupid. Teach me. Learn me.
That's it, man. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing over the past 2.5 years, I'd say, mm-hmm. the biggest thing for me was not what I learned, it was what I unlearned. Ooh. It was like stripping away everything that I just took for granted and just assumed to be true. You just assume that like what you see is what you get. You assume things are what they mm-hmm. are. You assume that things that you've been told are true. All these things. You just assume, I mean, it's served me thus far in life, so it all must be true. It's like, no. When I lost me, when that went out the window, I was like, oh, it's all up for grabs. There is no me. Great. Now what else?
Oh yeah, you ask that question why, and the only answer you get back is, I don't know. It's always been that way, or I don't know. That's just kind of the way it is. If you don't get that real answer, then it's full of crap.
Well, I guess to kind of tie it into professional wrestling just a tad. The tagline for our show, we're #WrestlePals, and it's your weekly dose of ... stupid. And this kind of ties into what we were just talking about. Our approach to watching professional wrestling is, number one, know that we are stupid. Number two, know that it's stupid. And you just watch it to watch it, and let it entertain you. Do you think that... Again, I guess just kind of keeping it to professional wrestling. Do you think, because a lot of people bitch about it, man, I don't know how much you pay attention to that, but do you think people would be better off to kind of like take that approach of, well, with anything entertainment really, just let it fucking be?
I think people would be best to take that approach probably in life. Look, I don't want to say what's best for people, and I probably sound like a maniac to a lot of people out there the way I'm talking. But you know what?
Yeah,
Like,
that's their problem, not yours.
I don't care at all. You know, it's crazy to be at a point in your life you're just like, yeah, I don't care what people think, because people are just they're me. They're the universe. They can't hurt me. They can't fill me more than I'm filled. They can't harm me more. It's just like it's great, but. You know, I think if you look at life, just like, hey, man, things are what they are. You know, if you look at entertainment, like, things are what they are. It's like, look, if you want to sit here and criticize everything, like, cool, that's fine, dude. Like that is your right. When people, you know, bitch about stuff and when they complain about stuff, they put down stuff, it's like, man, that is totally your right to do that. Like, you can, if that's how you want to live your life, if you want to be a person that goes online and complains about things or antagonizes people or is a troll or just or whatever these things that people do or nitpick stuff, if you can't find enjoyment in it, like what's the point in it? You know, if you can't find enjoyment in wrestling, what's the point? If you can't find enjoyment in life or entertainment or whatever, what's the point? It's like, it's not serious. Like, wrestling's not serious. Life's not serious. Wrestling certainly isn't serious. Like, wrestling is like a play within a play within a play. You know, if this world is an illusion and society is made up and money's made up and wrestling is a business and businesses are made up, and then it's in like a make-believe world, and then you're like make-believe fighting with make-believe characters that were created by the make-believe character that you created when you were born, that your parents helped create. It's like it's like made up within made up. It's all fake. It's fake. It's the fakest thing in the world. And it's nothing to be upset about. And look, I've gotten upset about dumb stuff in my life, and I probably still get upset about things about wrestling every once in a while. And then I remind myself, oh, it's just an illusion, but sometimes the illusion is strong. But yeah, man, like, what's the point in being angry about something? What's the point in being just bitching about something? If that's how you want to live your life, it's like, great. But it's not how I want to live my life. I know that.
Oh man, but with that perspective, if they're that upset about that, if they're that torn up and need to nitpick and need to crap on somebody else's opinion about it, with that, how are they in the rest of their lives? How are they in their day job? How are they with their family? How are they in whatever level of reality they're trying to exist on? It just seems kind of sad.
Right, and look, man, no judgment. If that's what gets you by, you know, if that's where you find, like, you know, purpose and meaning in like watching something and nitpicking it, maybe that works for you. I don't know. I'm not those people. But you know, we have this thing. We have like people that are happy will find the happiness in things. People that are malcontents will find a way to not be content in things. People that are grateful will find a way to be grateful. People who are dissatisfied and want to bitch will find a way to be dissatisfied and bitch no matter what they're doing. So
absolutely,
it's like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I guess that kind of brings me to you briefly mentioned people hopping online and bitching about stuff. How's the flip phone doing?
I gave up.
You gave up on the flip?
Yeah. It's like 2.5, 3 months. And then about a month ago, I was like, yeah, it's all right. Experiment over.
Well, I mean, some days, even with our stupid smartphones, it's difficult enough. Oh, I don't have signal. And again, it's one of those ridiculous things to bitch about. But yeah, I can't imagine at this point in my life going back to a flip phone. So you said 2.5 months and then it was over?
Yeah, the experiment was over. You know, I'll say this. It was nice in that, like, here's the thing. I still had my old iPhone that I could use, like, on Wi-Fi, right? So if I was home, I could still like, you know, play on my phone, which didn't help me. But when I was out of the house, it was great, because then I didn't have this thing to pick up. I didn't have this thing to check when I'm in line or check when I'm, you know, just we do that, right? You wait in line. I was in line at Target earlier, and I'm like looking on my phone. I'm like, God, what am I doing? You know, that sort of stuff. Or if you're in a locker room and you're not talking to anybody, so you pick up your phone. You feel awkward. You feel bored for just a second. You pick up your phone. So it was nice. It was nice in that. It really was. I mean, it's probably about balance and self-control, really, when it comes down to it. But it was a hindrance in that, like, I used the map app a lot. Getting places ended up being difficult. Uber and Lyft, that ended up being difficult. Things like that. I'm glad I did the experiment, but yeah, it's over.
You miss a lot of life on your phone, which is crazy because that's where everybody tries to catch up on life.
Yeah,
So weird.
man.
So
Yeah, man. I'll say this way. Like when I went to rehab, you didn't have a cell phone, and it was just great. It was just great not having a cell phone. And you have when you don't have a cell phone or like a TV to watch or computer to play on, the amount of other things you have to do. It's great, man. Like I wrote in my journal so much in rehab, like these great stories and all this sort of stuff. I read books. I socialized with people. Like I was like a human being, like a real life human being.
These are all terrifying concepts. Oh my God.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
But I guess like kind of where you are in life, like being present is probably more important than whatever, the likes, as it were.
I mean, yes. Having said that, I still get trapped in this thing like everybody else does, man. And I'm more aware of it. I'm more, I'm conscious of it. But still, like I'll just, I'll wake up and I'll be by my bed and I'll pick up the phone and then an hour later I'll be, what the hell am I doing?
Another portion of life slips away. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You mentioned a little while back when you were talking about, maybe people think you sound crazy. Now, I mentioned this to you on Twitter, and there's a conversation. I want to put this out into the ether here as well. I'd love to hear a conversation between you and Tom DeLonge from currently Angels and Airwaves. I'm dying to hear that conversation.
What's his take on life?
Well, yeah. So honestly, he seems to be in a very similar place as you. Only he leans more towards like aliens. Yeah. So like, I mean, it's always kind of been there. I mean, it was even prevalent in the times when he was still with Blink-182. But yeah, just his take on he's leaning more towards into like the government specifically, and they're hiding aliens from us, and aliens do exist.
Well, probably, right? I mean,
well, we'd be stupid to think that they don't, right?
Yeah, it's like
very arrogant to think we're the supreme intelligence in the universe because I've seen us. We ain't that great.
How many planets? How many stars? How many galaxies are out there? It's just like. And to think that, like, yeah, just this one. This is the one and only.
We're so special.
Get out of here.
But, yeah, again, I want to put that into the ether. So anybody who's listening to this, whether you're watching live with us or put that out there. Like, I don't know if we have a direct line to Tom. I know he's a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I think he did like a little vignette with, what's his name? With Joey Janela, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll manifest that. That's a thing, huh? Manifestation.
So okay, good. Is that a thing? Do you think? Do you think you can?
Man, like I thought it was complete, woo crap. But it's like I don't know any of it. Like who's to say it's not? I mean, if it is such a big thing, I'm reading a book on it now. Maybe there's people that are successful that say, yeah, this exists, man. You manifest it. Would it not make sense that, your thoughts are what it's energy, right? Mm-hmm. And these particles, matter is energy. And so that thoughts can impact matter. And I think, there's definitely been studies that show that thoughts can impact matter. I don't know if PJ talked about it on the podcast, but I think later on he did to me. There's like there was a study this guy did where he had rice in some water, right? He had 3 different containers of rice and water. And for a month or 2 months or 3 months, whatever it was, for one of the cups of rice with water, he would say thank you to it. The other one, he would say something derogatory to it, and the third one he just ignored. and after X amount of time, like the first cup of rice was like nice and beautiful, and the second cup of rice was rotting and just awful, and the third cup that he ignored was worse than the second cup. So it's like, you know, like what, and you can see it. There's like videos on YouTube of this guy. He's like an Asian dude, I think Japanese maybe. It's just like wild stuff to think that, you know, we assume that what we see is what we get. We assume that, you know, oh, that's not true. It's like, yeah, I don't know. So it's something I definitely have my mind open to. Man, stuff's crazy, man. Stuff's crazy. Like I was reading, like I was listening to something and reading something, and like they're both saying this. Like in one day, I got this. On the quantum, like quantum mechanics, quantum physics, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm probably going to butcher this, but on the quantum level, you know, I think it's with electrons, but some subatomic particle, they exist in all possibilities, in all places at once, until they're observed. Do you know this?
Whoa.
It's like a Schrodinger there.
It's
Nothing
like
happens until it's seen.
Yes, it's like
Or observed.
they exist in all possibilities, all places at once until they're observed, and once they're observed, then they come to a place,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like wild. Which means that at least on the quantum level, on a subatomic level or whatever, that matter and you know, thoughts have and consciousness have some sort of link. So who knows if manifestation is real?
Yeah, we can affect its level of existence by simply observing it.
Yes!
Or at least
What?
that becomes the
the
truth
hell?
that we see.
What
in
the
that
hell,
moment.
dude? What's that? What's going on? What's happening here? I just want to know what's happening here.
By just asking that question alone, you make it come into existence.
Dude, I look around every day and I go, what is this, man? Can you believe this? Can you believe that, like, we're sitting here and, like, talking through this computer and, like, sitting in our houses and they're nice and we're warm and, like, we have clothes on because we, like, other people make clothes for us. We have these things with our hands and we use our hands for things. We can smell things because scent is one of the qualities of the universe. It's just like, what's happening here, man? We're on this rock that's like hurtling through outer space, you know, circling a sun because there's a thing called gravity, and gravity exists in relation to the massive something. And it's like, what? And time is somehow connected into that too. It's like, what?
Absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Or
it's or freeing, yeah.
yeah.
But you grow up as a kid, and all you do is you look outside. It's like, oh, the sky is ground. That's cool. All right, that ground's on a rocket. It's flying through space. Okay, hold on. You're orbiting a giant flaming nuclear reactor, which could pull you in at any moment, or will it one day eventually explode? Whatever a day is, but it'll do that. It'll just pop out and burn up the Earth. Who knows where the hell we'll be at that time? So, okay. I'm just a kid. I'm gonna play outside.
Yeah, dude.
Because that's
I'm
important to me at the moment. 35
years old now, and I am more amazed and I live in more wonder than I ever have in my entire life.
I'm 40 and I just want to go outside and play.
And
And that's important too.
yes, it is.
Well, the human brain is like endlessly fascinating. Just like thinking, just kind of tying the last two things together, the idea of throwing out negativity, which to me is a complete and utter waste of time being negative. But I mean, if it's your thing, it's your thing. And the idea of manifestation, I try to put positivity out into the world every day, even if it's just, I do a thing on Facebook, the hug line. Whatever day it is, we'll use tomorrow as an example. Thursday hug line starts here, and people post hug gifs in the line, and that's to me a little stupid way to manifest positivity for people.
Yeah, and people get upset when for some reason you're banned from Facebook for 3 days, and then
Thanks,
they're like, "Where the
WWE.
hell is it? Where the hell is the hug line? We need this positivity." You created negativity by creating positivity.
Did you get banned from Facebook?
Well, I'm
It
glad.
happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So for for 3 days, a couple weeks back, when was it? Whenever on SmackDown, Brock Lesnar showed up and F5'd Kofi, I used a GIF of that. Kofi getting an F5, and it was on repeat. I got a copyright notice from WWE on Facebook that said, "Hey, there's 12 seconds of video on this that belongs to WWE. You can either dispute it or take it down. I was like, well, I'm going to dispute that. And I was just like, it's just a GIF that I used. And they said, yeah, that's not good enough. You can dispute it again or take it down. I was like, well, I'm going to dispute it again. And long story short, WWE was like, nah, slap, 3 days, you're done.
Mm-hmm. And then he rolled doubles and didn't pass go and didn't collect his $200.
So stupid.
It happens.
Yeah, that's all right. Facebook, who needs it anyway?
But and that's the thing. If honestly, the first thing I thought of when was the hug line, the fact that I wasn't going to be able to do that for 3 days. I was anxious about that. That just goes back to that whole conversation. The human brain. It's just fascinating. I didn't care necessarily about Facebook. I cared about the fact that I wasn't going to be able to put that positivity into the world for 3 days.
You know what you do then? You start the hug line in real life.
Dude.
He does.
I try to. Yeah. Not everybody is as open to hugs as you'd hope.
He was in a different line and a different target and didn't go quite as well.
I almost got super kicked by Dolph Ziggler once too.
That's all right.
That's something different. Completely different.
Happens.
So I guess the point of my stupid little story there, though, like, we talked about manifestation, but is there anything really wrong with putting positivity in the world, or do you feel like that's kind of just on that same wavelength? Is positivity a waste of time too?
No. Look, everything's a waste of time insofar as it's just time and you're wasting it. Like it's going either way. I sort of became like a nihilist this past, maybe over the past like 6 months. But I don't use that in the pejorative. It's like it's this positive thing where you go, yeah, yes, okay, nothing matters, it's fine. So it's like if nothing matters, then what really matters is what matters to you, like what you choose to make matter. So it's like, you can do whatever you want. You can be negative if you want. If that's what rows your boat, go for it. But I think the way to live is probably through positivity, probably through gratitude, probably through the recognition that you and I are the same thing, that we're all in this together, and we are all the universe. We are part of this one consciousness, and if you treat people as such, the world would probably be a better place so far as that there is a better.
Yeah, man. So first things first. You said you've kind of become a nihilist. I hope you're not peeing on any rugs.
No, is that a reference I should get?
Okay, that's fine. It's The Big Lebowski. Let's not worry about it.
I saw it once when I was like 18, and I was like, I don't get it.
I tried. There was an attempt. Let's not worry about it.
It's okay, but I like the idea of nihilism not necessarily being a bad thing. I mean, you're free to not worry about the end game. You get to enjoy the ride.
Yes.
Like it doesn't matter where this ends. It's like, well, I still get to go there, right? So I'm going to go this way for a while. Or I'm going to go over here because it's interesting to me. Or I'm going to go over there because I want to bounce off of that set of energy and see how that feels for a bit. And see if I can make it better or enjoy my ride better as a result.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it frees you from so much. You go, great, nothing matters. So it's like, what matters to me? I make the things matter. The fact that the three of us we're here, we're talking on your show. It means like we all matter to each other, and that's great. So you can fill your life with the things that you want to have matter, and the things you don't, you go, I'm good on that. I don't need whatever, success to matter to me. I don't, nothing needs to matter. So you're not like bound by anything. You don't have to act any certain way, that people tend to, because they feel like they have to do something because like that's what matters, right? It's like I have to be successful. Like success is what matters in life, and they'll do anything and they'll become miserable trying to become successful. It's like, once you realize that doesn't matter, you're free from things like that.
Yeah, they get stuck chasing that word success and they can't even define it for themselves.
Yeah,
or,
man.
Or they're stuck with somebody else's definition of success. They strive for it, and even if they get it, cool, now what?
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. That's one of the biggest realizations, internalizations of this past year was like this idea that external things can't be the thing that fulfill you, because they never are. I mean, they're nice, but when you talk about something like success, it's like, what's success? You just keep chasing one thing, you keep chasing one thing, you keep chasing one thing, you keep chasing it. Like, at what point is that success? And it's not to say you can't go after things, but there has to be a foundation. There has to be that thing inside of you that knows that the thing on the other side is not the thing. The thing you want is not the thing. They did a study. I want to say it was like in the 70s. They did a study of lottery winners and quadriplegics. Right? People became quadriplegic in their lives.
That's a bad lottery. Don't play that lottery.
What's that?
That's a bad lottery. Don't play that lottery.
Well, here's the thing, man. Here's what they found. They found that within, I want to say, 3 or 6 months of the incident, whether it was becoming quadriplegic or winning the lottery, the lottery winners were on average less happy than they were before they won the lottery. And happiness is quantified under different sort of things, whatever. Right. And quadriplegics were just about the same amount of happy as they were before the incident. The initial month or two would be rough, and then they'd go back to basically their emotional home, their emotional base, which tells you what? Which tells you external things are not the thing. I mean, that's it, man. There's always something to do. There's always another thing to be gained. There's always something ahead of you. There's always a thing you could want. Like you never get one thing and go, oh, now I got it.
Done.
Seth Rollins and we talked about this on my episode of the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, basically when he won the world title, right around that time, he's like, oh, this isn't it, and it's not. Of course it's not. Yeah. Of course, the thing you thought was the thing your entire life isn't the thing. Like, of course it's not. Why would it be? Because it isn't. People want to know, like, oh, how do I get to WWE? I'm working so hard on the indies, and it's just like, I just want to get to WWE. I'm miserable here. It's like, yeah, man, if you're not happy where you're at, you're not going to be happy there either. If you're not happy where you are now, you're not going to be happy wherever you are, more or less, Because, yes, nothing external is the thing. The thing is here. The thing is now. The thing is this moment. The thing is you. The thing is me.
Waking up is the thing. Like you said, being here is the thing, right?
Absolutely. That is... once you realize like you're it, like you're the thing, like I'm the thing, now is the thing, this moment, the only moment we have is the thing, like that's the magic, man. I've used this allegory on my podcast before, but I'm like obsessed with it because I just think it's so fitting. It's the one of the Wizard of Oz where you have Dorothy and the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion, and they want to go home, and they want brains, and they want a heart, and they want courage, and they think, oh, the great and powerful Oz is going to be the thing to give it to us. The great and powerful Oz, the great and powerful Oz. So they go down the Yellow Brick Road, and they fight the Wicked Witch of the West, and they get the great and powerful Oz, only to realize the great and powerful Oz, it's fake, man. It's not real. It's not what they thought it would be. But then they realize the thing they wanted the whole time, they've had the whole time. It's like you look down your feet right now, man. You're wearing the ruby red slippers, and that's what life is. You can go down the Yellow Brick Road, but eventually, if you're lucky, you find out that the thing you were looking for the whole time is you. You're it. Which is great.
It's almost like not as much that they had it, but they gained it on that journey. Again, it was the ride that got them what they needed, or what they really wanted, or what they were so striving for. They got at some point along the way. They just didn't realize it because they were still.
Dorothy had the power to go home almost as soon as she went to Oz. She got the ruby red slippers, and it's like you have it. You've always had it. You've had it from the very beginning. And yes, you go down the Yellow Brick Road, you go down this journey, but then you find out that you've always had it. It's a thing you've always had, and you go on the journey to realize that you have it.
Now, do you think she'd rather have that way home right out of the gate, or is she a better person for having had that journey, for having had the story?
Journey, man. You go down the Yellow Brick Road, and to figure this thing out. That's why, people can say all this stuff to you. They can say, hey, love yourself, or you're enough, or whatever. We hear these sort of cliches, and they bounce off of you, and they sound like cliches, and they sound trite until you actually understand what they're saying. And you got to go down the journey. You have to go on the adventure to figure that out. But once you go on the adventure and once you figure it out, then it's like, great. Now you can play. Now you can walk around your ruby red slippers and show them off.
Is being willing to go on the journey, you think, some sort of form of manifestation then?
I mean, it's how things get done, isn't it? I mean, it's less manifestation in the mental sense, in the secret sort of sense, and more that, like, this is what happens. It's like it's the hero's journey, right? It's you go down into the it's the call to adventure, and you go down to the scary abyss, and you come out the other side, and you come out better than you went in. So yeah, it's like that's how things happen. Is by going on the journey, by answering that call to adventure, by going out of your comfort zone. We're not in Kansas anymore. Exactly. We're not in Kansas because you can't grow in Kansas. Kansas is just what you've always known. Kansas is the place you've always been to, and that's nice. But also it's nice to grow. It's nice to go on an adventure because it's only in your going outside of your comfort zone that growth happens, right?
Yeah. So
there's this great Joseph Campbell quote. I'm just in love with. It's what is it? The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. I love that one.
Yeah. On the topic of letting go, because I mean, I don't know that we've necessarily said it directly, but like a lot of going on the journey has to be letting go, doesn't it? Like, how easy has it been for you to let go and actually go on this journey? And I guess, again, tying back to the pod, like, is that helping on the journey, or is this just something fun you're doing along the way?
Letting go is one of the most profound concepts in my life. It's probably one of those profound concepts imaginable. I mean, anytime there's pain or suffering in my life, it's because I'm holding on to something. Anytime I'm stuck on something, I don't know what to do, it's because I'm holding on to something. And you realize that. You realize we hold on to these stories about ourselves, or these things that we want, or whatever. We just hold on to it. And it's just like, dude, let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Like Frozen, man. It's true. But that's how it is. I mean, it's so profoundly useful. And it's only through letting go of these things you can. I mean, that's what happened to me. It's like I started to let go of things, and I started to let go of not just my physical things that I did. When I got out of rehab, I looked around my house. I go, God, I have so much crap, and I threw out. I mean, everything I own, I think, can fit in my car now. And I let go of the physical stuff, and then I started to let go of the emotional stuff. I started to let go of the stories I was telling myself. I started to let go of how I define myself, and I was really confused for a while because I started to let go of these things. I would say to myself, I am not my success. I am not my failures. I am not my creativity. I am not my career. I am not my intelligence. I would say these things to me because I knew these were ways I was defining myself that weren't necessarily true. I didn't know what I was at that point, but I just knew I was trying to disidentify with these things because these things were trapping me. If you're your career, then you're just hey, if your career goes well, you're good. If your career goes bad, you're bad, right? And I just started to let go of the ways I define myself. That was one of the things I had to let go of. Then I started to let go of my entire identity. And of course, you still live in the ego. You still live in the avatar that you are. So I have one. Having no identity is an identity, right? And then one of the things I had to let go of was morals and ethics and things that I thought were real. They're just oh, these are made up too. And it's not that I want to treat people like crap or anything like that. It's just you realize that the idea that people are born with inherent value or something. It's like that's just a concept we created. Like all this stuff. Our rights are just concepts we created. So none of it's true. Right and wrong isn't true. It's everything just is. And so you let go of all the things, and you come out the other end. Now we're people and we're only human, so of course you're holding on to some things. But anytime you're trapped, it's like the more and you let go of things, so then you can realize like what's worth holding on to as well. I think you have to you deconstruct so you can reconstruct. I think in a way.
Well, and I guess to kind of add to that point, I believe at some point you said that you had to let go of WWE being the dream, right? Like, because that was a dream job for you, and getting fired could have sent you down. Having it been a dream job, you had to let go of the idea that was the dream job, right? I mean, like,
yeah. Well, it's. I started to suspect it when I was in rehab, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had this sort of clarity in the distance to get a new perspective on things. And as much as rehab helped me, with the drugs, like I've said this before, I think everybody should be allowed to go to rehab like once in their life. I think everybody should get a, pull in case of emergency, 30 days to get away from everything. Because we don't know the things we're addicted to, man.
Everybody's
we're
got
all
something.
addicted to like the things in our bubbles, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
drugs are not a long-term solution to these things that we're addicted to. But other things, are a little less overt that we're addicted to, and we don't realize it's a problem. We won't realize it's a problem until we're when in our 50s, that we have a midlife crisis or whatever. But it was great. Rehab was great in that it allowed me to step back and go, well, wait a minute. The way I'm living my life doesn't seem to be quite right. Like, I've been dedicating my life to this idea of following my dream, but how noble of a pursuit can it be if here I am? And how noble of a pursuit can it be if, all my friends in WWE, I mean, I don't say all of them, but like, geez, there's a lot of unhappiness there. To say that people are content or happy there, or WWE or living your dream is the thing that makes them happy. Certainly it's like, well, that's not true. And so then after I got fired, like, it just, what I suspected became utterly obvious. As I was having the first 15 minutes after I got fired, the metaphorical 15 minutes was like the time of my life. It was so much fun. And I was there and I was like, yeah, man, this is great. This is great. Like, I used to be suspicious or even like roll my eyes when guys would leave WWE and say, yeah, they're going to go out there and whatever. I'd be like, why would you want to leave WWE? That's where everything is. And then there I was, and I gotten fired. I go, that was the greatest thing ever, getting fired from there.
Well, that's the construct of success. Everyone has that built up. That's the end all be all, and where you have to get to. And that's a construct built by other people, and you strive for it and realize that wasn't what you needed, what you wanted, or what fulfills you at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had people, probably online or wherever, sort of saying, I don't know, defining success by WWE at that point, sort of. Framing it like either, I don't know, like poor Jimmy Jacobs, he got fired, or F Jimmy Jacobs, he got fired, he's not in WWE, whatever. But framing WWE as if it's something important that I should strive for, or if it's sad, or, a tragedy they got fired, or whatever. And I realized, wow, success. You can't let anybody else define success for you. You just can't.
And at that point, everybody on the outside is looking at you through that prism of the WWE. Meanwhile, they're missing looking at you. And you're feeling like you're in a better place. You're feeling in a happier place. They dismiss that because they're still looking through that other prism. Comparing you to that end goal that they all have.
Right. You just assume something to be true, and that's it. So we all look through life through the lens we look at it through. And that was their perspective of it. But, fortunately for me, their perspective doesn't matter.
And it doesn't affect you. You're free of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So this seems to go without saying. Prior to the journey, did you have a rather unhealthy relationship with professional wrestling, which led to the drug use?
Well, yes. I wouldn't. So what led to the drug use? It started as like a parody of itself. It started like, me and a couple of guys, we would like would like jokingly like take drugs and be like, "Hey, we're like old school wrestlers." It was like a parody, you know. It was like you'd parody Ric Flair by getting drunk or whatever. That's how it started. But and then just, oh man, you know, doing it once a month became doing it twice, became doing it, you know, every weekend, became doing it during the week, became doing it every day. But my relationship with wrestling was unhealthy in that, like, yeah, man, I thought it mattered, right? I thought it like really meant something. I thought it was serious business. I thought that, you know, this was a thing that was, you know, I had on this pedestal, and I was obsessed with it too. You know, it ran my life. It was like when I got out of rehab, especially about, you know, I don't know, a few months after I got out of rehab, especially, I sort of reframed things in my brain. Like, to me, it was like wrestling was like just like drugs. It was like the same thing to me. It was both like these things that I, you know, centered my life around, that I did to an obsessive nature, you know, to the point where it did damage and harm in my life.
So I ask that to get to the other side of it, where you are now. How would you describe your relationship with professional wrestling now?
Man, I love it, dude. I love it because I don't really care about it. That isn't to say I don't work hard at my job, but I was, you know, working right before we had this conversation. I'm gonna work right afterwards. But because I enjoy it. That's it. That's my relationship with wrestling, is that I enjoy it. Like, it's so funny, man. If I have one regret in my career, it's I didn't just enjoy it more. Like, nobody's forcing you to go to work. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. Like, you do it because you enjoy it, right? And so what's the point if you don't enjoy it? So yeah, now it's just, dude, I concern myself with the things I enjoy, and I don't concern myself with the things I don't enjoy. Like, you know, I don't, you know, I see what's on my Twitter feed. I don't keep up with wrestling really any more than that. I enjoy writing the TV for Impact Wrestling. I enjoy producing it even more. I love those TV days. I love the, you know, shooting promos with guys and how crammed we are and trying to get it all done. It's like, it's exciting and it's fun. And yeah, man, I love that. And then I go home and I don't watch it. I don't worry about it. It exists, and it's nice. And that's it, dude. And that's great. You know, maybe there's a part of me that goes, oh man, but wasn't it great before when you really cared about something, where you had your whole soul and heart and you sacrificed? Like, I mean, I guess if that's the way you want to live, but I'm 35 years old and I don't want to live like that. I want to live with some sort of like balance and enjoyment on my life, not having a thing that, you know, yanks me around, you know, whether it's good or whether it's bad, you know, the ups, the downs. And not that there aren't highs and lows now, but it's like, living like that is just like, it was exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that it's got to be hard, because like, you look back at the Jimmy who cared so much about it, and without that Jimmy, you can't be who you are today. But at the same time, it's like, don't you wish you could kind of go back and say, hey man, this doesn't really matter?
Yeah, man. But I mean, the former part of what you said is absolutely right. It's like, yeah, I have to, you know, sometimes I think now I'm probably a little too irreverent about wrestling. So yeah, you're right. I will say, you got to look back. You have to appreciate, you know, what old Jimmy did, you know, because it got me here. And you got to appreciate, you know, what wrestling was to me, because it was a part of the journey that got me here. And so it's all right. Everything had to happen exactly how it happened. And you have to have an appreciation for that. I'm fortunate. I'm grateful that now I don't need to live my life where everything is defined by, you know, some silly guys playing in tights.
And that doesn't mean you're completely stifled and creative. It sounds like you enjoy the positions you're in now. You get to help other talent develop. And do you feel like that's a more fulfilling in a way, when you can give your insight to others and watch it bloom and grow and have an effect on them and see how they progress and develop as individuals themselves?
Yeah, man, that's great, dude. I love helping new talent and younger guys. You know, I still love performing too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do it sometimes. I've got a almost 30-day tour up in Canada coming up through all of November into December, So I still enjoy doing it. But, I was watching the first episode of AEW. I caught maybe like the first 45 minutes or so, and I was watching this opening match with Cody and Sammy Guevara or whatever. And I was watching it, just going like, man, I'm so glad that's not me. Like, there's no part of me that like desires to be in that ring and have that sort of pressure on that sort of big stage and perform like these guys now they're so good. They're so talented. This is the whole new generation. This super athletic, super innovative stuff. And that was never my thing. My thing was never that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's fulfilling in a different way.
I think that kind of gets back to the whole, hey, you're never going to be smart unless you can admit how dumb you are. It's like you can never really be as good professionally or as a wrestler unless you can admit, hey, these other guys are better than me. It seems like there's like a whole generation of people that just wanted to crap on everybody else and say that they're the best. And as soon as everybody was like, oh no, this guy's amazing and I want to be like him, it seems like that's when there was like a golden age and everybody got better because they wanted to be like other people and were willing to admit that other people were good and that they could aspire to be that way. Yeah,
man. Like wrestling's funny, and it's like this happens on every generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every generation looks at the next generation and goes, these kids, this isn't what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was starting, or the wrestling I grew up on, if you're my age and you watched like the NWA in the late 80s or something, you'd be like, they should be doing it like this. All the acrobatic stuff now, that's BS. And it's like, no, man. Wrestling was just as fake when Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat did it than when the Young Bucks and Penta and Phoenix did it. I mean, just as fake. I would just say one is, it's just they're just different tools to use to tell a story, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm at a place where I can look at it all and just go, yeah. I enjoy what I enjoy, but I wouldn't even want to try to do, even if I could do some of this stuff, I wouldn't even want to try to do some of the stuff these newer guys are doing because that's not exactly what I enjoy. I'm going on this 30-day tour up in Canada or whatever, and it's all like, it's simple wrestling, and that's the stuff I like. I like, just being a bad guy or being a good guy and doing the gimmick and having a few moves, and that's it. I love house show wrestling, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love improvising. I love grabbing the microphone if the mood suits me. I love all that stuff. That's the part of wrestling I love doing. And so the other stuff, it's like great for those guys. It's awesome that there's so many talented people and the quote unquote work rate has improved so much over the years. These guys are so good, so talented.
Well, we've kept you for a good while here. Just a couple more questions as we're winding down. And again, I want to bring it back to, and I will say this as many times as possible, Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know is a wonderful podcast. If you're listening to this right now, go subscribe. Who has been your favorite guest on the pod?
Man, everybody just has a different perspective on things, and everybody. It was also like different, like a lot of it's like my journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
The podcast is my journey. PJ Black was super interesting. The one with like Meg Rokel, where she was like the first person I met that was like was all about like awakening and that sort of stuff, and the idea that like we aren't who we think we are, and all that sort of thing. And so I was so grateful to be able to talk to her. So a lot of it's like the journey I'm going on, and the different people. Like I'll say this, like, so there's the episode of Sami Zayn, which I really enjoy.
That was really good.
And that was like a lot of like questions. And then the one with Seth, I like a lot because it was the most like definitive one. It was like a continuation of the Sami Zayn conversation, in that Sami Zayn conversation was like asking all the questions. And then when I got to Seth, I was like, hey, here's what I think my answers are. So I think that's kind of like a, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like the journey of like, there's a lot of great ones, man. I enjoyed everybody, honestly.
I have pointed people to the Sami one because of that question of who are you? That was the one that I kept coming back to. Who are you?
The idea of whether we create ourselves or we discover ourselves, whether there's something inherent inside of us that is unchangeable, or it's all up for grabs. And going down that road, it's like it's a scary road to go down, man, because you think of yourself as somebody. You think of yourself as these things, how you've always defined yourself. You think of yourself as the identity you've created for yourself. And once you start to strip that away and strip it away further and further and further, and you cling on to these things tightly, you go, well, yeah, I know this isn't, that might, yes, I made that up, or yes, that can change, but there's something in here that's me. I swear there's something in here that's unchanging in me. I swear there's a thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like you go further and further and further until you go, wait a minute. You go, it's like an onion. You peel it. And then at the middle of it, it's nothing. You go, oh, great. It's nothing.
And then to bring up the other episode you were talking about when you had Seth on, like it was a lot about you talking about coming kind of towards nihilism, where he had kind of stepped away from nihilism, which I thought was an interesting part of the conversation.
Yeah, man, I didn't expect that. I didn't know what I was walking into with the conversation with Seth, which is really exciting because like we've always kind of been at different ends of the spectrum. Like I was raised religious, I was raised Catholic, and so I always was like sort of, I don't know, Christian leaning, I guess, so to speak. I didn't think like that was it, but I thought it was maybe something like that. And he was always this like atheist nihilist, so I did not know what I was walking into. And to come in there to have him go like, yeah, well, I'm not so sure there's nothing anymore, and me to go, yeah, I think nothing matters.
Yeah, I and it's not to say that I didn't think he was intelligent. I didn't think it was going to get that deep. You see the name Seth Rollins and you just kind of, you equate it with, all right, and like, yeah, exactly. And it that one threw me for a loop. Like,
you have the packaged product you're presented every week, and underneath that, there's somebody there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And how far down do you dig?
Yeah, and it's the first interview I've heard with him where I got to peek at who the hell is it behind Seth Rollins, which was lovely.
Yeah, and I thought, like I said, it was the first time I felt I had a conversation where I actually sort of put my flag somewhere and said, I think this is it. I think this is what's going on here. So it was special to me in that way too.
And that leads me to, if you could have anybody on the pod, anybody sitting right there next to you, who's your dream guest right now?
I mean, there's a handful. I mean, I would really like. Pete Holmes, the comedian. I don't know if you guys listen to his podcast, but he's just like, he's on the same spiritual journey, and he's ahead of me, and he just wants to talk about all things I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. But it would just be a sounding board of us just saying the same things to each other. Russell Brand, he was one of the guys that like really helped reshape the way I saw addiction, and he's all in the spiritual journey as well in a different sort of way. Another one that I would be like really interested, because I'm really into his stuff, but like, how do I say it? It's like, it's Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jordan Peterson's work, but I mean, like, I'm into all this like woo-woo stuff, all this, supernatural or whatever, existential sort of things, and he's very like pragmatic in all his the way he talks and all his advice and the way he sees the world. And the way he sees the world, his advice and all that stuff, it's brilliant. I think it's great. But it's so not like what I'm into. I would, in a certain manner of speaking, I would love to have the conversation with him, with sort of his stuff contrasted to like with where I'm at.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess that leads us to, where can people find you on the social media?
Yeah, Jimmy Jacobs X. You can find all my stuff there. JimmyJacobs.com will have all that information, all the things you need to know if you need to know anything about me, which you don't. But if you do, it's all there.
And where can people find the pod?
Yeah, man. Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know. I think it's about anywhere you listen to your podcast. Should be. If it's not, let me know. But I think it's where it needs to be.
And then lastly, you start every episode with a little gratitude. So I just wanted to say a little gratitude for you for your time tonight, man. We really do appreciate it.
Hey, sure, man. I'm grateful to have somebody to talk to on a Wednesday night some days. I'm grateful there are people out there that want to talk to me still.
Well, and then I guess that leaves the absolute last question, and you're the only other person we've asked. The only other person that we've asked this was Jake the Snake Roberts, just so you know. Can we be hashtag WrestlePals?
Hashtag WrestlePals. How does that work?
Well, we're just you, me, Nathan. We're pals now. We're hashtag WrestlePals.
Commitment I need to make to this because I have a fear of commitment.
Okay,
Understandable.
that's par. All right. Man. Hey, that's still better. That's still better than we got before. All right.
We can be hashtag WrestlePals.
Oh my God.
Yes. Jake Roberts called us a couple Pat Pattersons.
All right, he would.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jimmy. We really do appreciate it,
Yes,
and I'm looking forward to the pod, man.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
And ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy Jacobs doesn't know. I can't put that out there enough. I know, like, it sounds like I'm washing balls because we had him, but it really is one of my more favorite finds in the podcast world recently.
It's different. He's not trying to perform for anybody.
No.
It seems like it's mostly for him. It's like, hey, hold on. I could pay for therapy, or I could talk some stuff out with some people that I think might have an idea about a thing or two. And if they don't, I want to know that they don't, so that I can know that I do. Maybe.
Well, and it's great because, like, he doesn't know and he's okay with it.
Yeah, like you said, that's the foundation for learning, man. The second you say, "I hold, please," can you teach me a thing or two? That's where you can learn.
And he does, like, you can tell, like, in the conversations, he's learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure it was hard because I was in the moment.
Yeah.
But I would be willing to bet he learned something from us, which it sounds ridiculous, but he was having a conversation with us.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, he picked up something.
That's way better than performing, man.
Absolutely. And what a dude. And you will enjoy the pod because much like, we're ... stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He subscribes to the same thing, just in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah.
It's the same wavelength, except we end up a little more on the silly end, and he's a little more on the exploration end.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still the same kind of vibe. I dig that.
So, again,
Be dumb. It's okay.
it's way okay.
It's a better place to start. You can go somewhere from there.
But seriously though, let's get Tom DeLonge on there. I think we need P. Holmes seems that seems doable. Like, I don't see that being a problem. Like, maybe we have to pick up the campaign for him, but that doesn't seem like it would be a problem.
Hey, what else we doing? Mm-hmm.
You'd have to, like, open that phone of yours and actually open Twitter and
See, I've got this flip phone, Justin, right?
Jesus.
And no Twitter on it. It's great. Also, no phone numbers. Also, I don't know where the charger is.
Uh-huh.
It's dead. But
we
it makes
will
it
get Effie eventually.
makes a satisfying sound whenever I close it. You can close it in anger, which is great. You can't hang up a smartphone in anger anymore. You ever try that? Go ahead. Be angry. And yeah, it's not as satisfying, but that's satisfying.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, you probably have one of those old landlines around here somewhere. Big corded phone you can just slam
Somewhere.
down. That's great. That's the best.
So I guess just really briefly,
Mm-hmm.
we can talk about a couple things that happened in wrestling this week. Sorry we weren't able to keep up with the chat. Like, we were
Hey.
fully engrossed in the moment.
We had work to do.
Yeah.
There was work to be done. This stuff was important and moving fast.
Yeah. I wanted to put it out there.
Not that you're not important. That makes me sad. And they were moving fast too. I'm sorry. Jeez.
NWA Power is tremendous. I haven't seen episode 2 yet, but the first one is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Tightly compacted, 1 hour program, studio format. It's just wonderful.
Does it feel like 6:05 on a Saturday?
It airs on 6:05 on Tuesdays on the
course.
Superstation. You understand?
That's amazing.
6:05. I'm not kidding. 6:05 on Tuesdays.
Believe me, I understand that that's a nuance that they would find very important. And there it is.
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
It's a really good show. Like, Joe went as far. I don't think Joe's still around. It's probably too late for him. But
His mind was blown. He had to go lay down.
he went so far as to say it was his favorite wrestling of the week. between AEW Dynamite, between
Why?
NXT, because it was tightly compacted. There was character, there was character development,
And it was something different, man.
and it was different. Like it was an old school aesthetic with today's wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I've been a long time proponent of squash matches
Yes.
because they help a great deal.
Yeah.
I think it was like 2 squash matches, an enhancement match, and then the main.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a brawl, and then the main. Perfect. You had microphone. You have mic time for
Steve
people.
versus a child. I would love that. Mm-hmm. Let's see a child get.
Don't finish that sentence.
Nope.
So go out of your way.
Haven't,
Go out of your way to watch NWA Power.
Power.
I have not watched Dynamite, the second episode, which tells you something.
Power.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but that tells you something. NXT was tremendous. And then just kind of quickly touching on the draft.
Okay.
Liv got drafted,
Yeah, right. Look. Did you see her?
sort of.
Did she show up?
They showed her image.
They showed a render. Is it a new render? Old render?
I think it was newer, but they played her theme.
Which is, honestly, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, because it's never been played on WWE television.
She just kicks in and was like, who the hell is this?
Because she came in with the Riot Squad, so she had Rue's theme.
Is Teddy Long back? This is great. No, you don't need to play it. It's all right. You're going to get a dispute. They're going to dispute. Do you want another dispute?
So I'm excited because her getting drafted means they have some sort of plan for her.
Okay.
Even if it's short term.
Dude.
She's going to get television time.
Dude, yeah. I don't know if you can make that guarantee.
Yes,
I understand.
I can.
I understand that you want it to be. I understand that you need it to be. You, of all people, need it to be.
Raw didn't draft that many women.
Yeah, so we just traded stuff after the fact and weird stuff. Look, man, all I'm asking is for just a little bit of suspension. Let me suspend disbelief because I'll do most of the work for you. Because I'll go like, it's wrestle time, yay! Let's watch the show.
I will say this: the draft episodes don't make for good TV.
They really can. They really could.
I guess.
Man, you know what I remember about drafts that I really liked back in the day? Like there was like one in particular where they had like the giant like room of like all the wrestlers like just sitting there and they're all wearing like their different color things except for like some of the names like Undertaker's in the back and this was like Biker Taker and he got
That was the first one.
and he got drafted and he was pissed.
Yeah.
Guess what? That was some amazing character. Meanwhile, you got a whole bunch of other people in the room like, oh shit, that's great. Let me see, but that gets back to the overarching thing of let me just see a new universe, man.
Yeah.
Let me see everybody kind of existing together. Don't just show me a render and just be like, hey, okay, they're over there now. It's like, were they over here?
I liked that they used Stephanie sparingly, like literally just for her role. She came out and said, hey, this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not overly overdoing it.
She exists,
She
but she
exists.
isn't the center of that universe.
Yeah.
That's all I want. That's good. I like that. But what do you think about the whole Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss thing?
I mean,
that tag teams could be drafted together, but those two got drafted individually and then traded back
as a tag team.
as a tag team for some reason.
I don't know, man.
It seems like I hope
Makes more room for Liv.
I hope that's all you care about. I like it. Hey, one track mind. I really hope they have plans going forward. I hope the drafts mean something. I think
they have to.
I really
with
hope
the
so,
deal with
man.
Fox.
I really hope so because I gotta tell you, man, some of the best SmackDown television was when it was like, here's our limited roster and we're gonna do some amazing stuff with it. And then all of a sudden I get 6 months of that fantastic Jinder Mahal, and I was a happy dude. Jinder, yeah, this is gonna be great. Where's Jinder? Jinder get drafted?
He did. He got drafted to Raw, but he's hurt.
Oh,
Or he's recovering.
I'm sad. That makes me sad. But yeah, man. Give me those limited rosters so I can see all these people bounce off of each other. And do something with those rosters too.
Yes.
Move them around a little bit. Not everybody has to be on TV every week. Not everything.
Well, see, and this is what I was gonna say.
What's that?
I think that they just stumbled into like how they're gonna do off seasons, because you had the people who were drafted, however many that was per show, and then you had a couple people who got signed as free agents today to each show, right? There's still plenty of people who didn't get either, and they may just be off of TV for a little while.
That's fine. Let him show up. Let him show up anywhere.
Then they can sign as a free agent to
Cesaro get picked up anywhere?
SmackDown.
Okay.
Harper did too.
Okay. Oh, where's Rowan?
Rowan's on Raw.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do on his own.
I have no idea, but you know what? Just do something. I
Just
don't care
do
if it's good.
something.
I don't care if it's good or not. I want to. He got this giant universe of characters. I want to see them all. Show me every one of them. And it doesn't take a whole lot to make me care, but I need to have some sort of presence. And it really doesn't take much. Even a little thing like EC3 chasing that 24/7 title in the back. Guess what? Puts him in front of mind.
He got drafted.
Good.
It
Do
was
something.
off of TV, but he got drafted. So did EY.
I'll take it, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they could have done much more with the draft. But again, I like that big room full of people that it looks like an NFL draft where we've got the different teams going up with their representations and calling people up there and people. I like the idea of somebody being pissed, or you're seeing groups get split up and they're like sad for a moment. Did we at least get to see Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross sad that they were being split up?
No,
Why not?
they weren't on TV.
Why not?
I don't know.
I don't know. It seems easy, right?
Yeah.
Just give me a reaction. Just a little reaction like, oh, shoot, this is important. And then it's like, oh, they're back together. That's cool. All right. Make it I don't know. Then I get a little too far into the weeds. But it's like,
I don't know, man. I just feel like it just doesn't
do
make...
we have new matchups?
Yeah.
All right. Just give them to me. Just give them to
So
me.
far, so good. They've given us plenty of new matchups. So,
Cain Velasquez.
and how about Samoa Joe being all professional? Like, he was excelling in that role. Did you see him?
No. What did he do?
So Renee was hosting a draft panel during both days of the draft.
Right.
And it was Book, it was Beth Phoenix, and Samoa Joe in a pink cast.
Oh, is he injured?
Yeah, so he's recovering. And he drafted to Raw, by the way.
Okay. Hey, man, give him a microphone.
Giving him a mic and he'll get somebody over. He was like top notch. I mean, you're putting a microphone in his hand, essentially.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he's going to do some amazing stuff with it and doesn't need long to do it. Almost like that, hey, what an amazing role that could be for him at some point down the line. Please don't retire anytime soon.
And to that
Please win all the title.
to that effect, Mickey James has been doing commentary on Main Event. And I'm wondering if they're prepping her to take over for whenever King finally leaves. Because
King's only there temporarily.
Right.
So,
Till he doesn't want to do it anymore, essentially. Seriously.
it's hard to tell with King. Because I can tell he like enjoys, he feels like he's...
It's weird. I kind of dig him and Dio together.
Okay, let's discuss this team. Because this is one of the big takeaways I've had. You got Dio Madden, you've got Vic Joseph, and you've got Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry the King Lawler is the shortest one in that booth by a mile.
Yes.
He looks like a small child. And it's like, this is one of the world's heavyweight champions. King of Memphis, god damn it. There's Dio Madden. Hello.
Hi.
My hair looks like ropes. It's delightful. And then there's Vic Joseph's like, I don't know how I got this tall. I'm very sorry. They still seem a bit wooden, but man, they're trying. But I see King constantly giving little bumps, just waiting for someone to spike it. And it's like, swing and miss, swing and then, okay, hold on. But they're gonna get there.
Yeah.
But you're coming from. You don't realize how good Renee and
Graves.
Gravy and Cole were together. They were good, but we're also like, oh, they're still new. Renee's trying to find her place. No, they were good. They were good out the gate, and of course they had hiccups as any new team will, and they got to find their way to play, and they found it. And then when he gets taken away, we miss it quite a bit. There's a big difference between the new crew, but it's amazing to think they've got that much faith in Dio Madden and Vic Joseph, that they're putting him right there. Because I didn't think they were going to make that jump. I mean, that was one of the rumored things for quite some time, but you got other people that I would maybe put up there first. But that being said, nah, man, here, sink or swim. And they're professionals. They're gonna do everything they can to swim as hard as they can.
Surprisingly,
And King is and it's fantastic to watch King as the elder statesman doing everything to feed them as many lines as possible. It's like, oh, you didn't catch that one? Here's another one. Go, 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 go.
Dio had only started like on 205 like a couple weeks before going to Raw.
No, right?
I mean, obviously he'd probably been down at Full Sail
I'm
working
sure
on
they
it.
put a microphone from him a couple times beforehand and then just find some dude. But damn.
But yeah, that's like steep ass learning curve, and he's really coming in like he's definitely a different voice.
Yeah,
Like,
and you can't tell me they're not up in their ears, man.
oh, of course.
And it's hard to perform, man. I've got circus music playing in my headphones right now. I'm barely holding on, man. And there's no words to that except do 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 do. Those are words.
And then Vic, he'd been doing NXT UK and 205 for a while. It's interesting to see that Tom Phillips apparently is moved to 205
Yeah.
with Aiden English.
Tom Phillips was who I thought would have been more of their like top prospect.
Yeah.
As far as the Michael Cole replacement, but I don't know, man. Let's see what Vic Joseph does.
I gotta also say,
I'm very glad King is there to help him out. I'm very glad they didn't start straight away with the two-man booth. Because, I mean, that was the thought was the two-man booth. King may leave at some point. I like your idea that they may be joined by Mickey and or Beth. But, wow. The thought that the two of them could have been left alone on Raw.
yeah.
It's like, dude, all right. It's like, hey, you just got your learner's permit. I want you to take out Grandpa's vintage automobile. Clutch is a little sticky. It's not an automatic. You can drive stick, right? Go for it, kids. Have at you now. 3 hours. Go. Entertain us.
I hate how Renee's gotten taken from the table, but I love that SmackDown's a two-man team now. That is a very double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I hate that she got nipped in the bud, but she's moving to a position that she's happier with. You know, I liked her in the commentary role, but it's clear that was just her job. She didn't have a passion for it. She's really good at that hosting role.
Yeah.
And so like she really shines and excels there. So, you know, I'm happy for her. And again, like,
It doesn't take away from her.
no.
I mean, there isn't a solid stated hierarchy for those roles, and honestly, those roles are kind of what you make of them. Mm-hmm. You can go in the commentary booth, be the main dude, and be totally lackluster, and nobody gives a damn about you. Meanwhile, Renee has a glowing personality and does a fantastic job of engaging in creating a sense of existence in the universe. Anywhere she is, anybody she's talking to, it feels real. Mm-hmm. And that's impressive as all hell. She can excel in that role better than some are going to be able to do 3 hours on the desk, man.
To that note, and before we head on out of here,
Word.
Joe to Renee, he goes, "It's nice to see that," because they were in Vegas. Nice to see that you're here to help pay the bills and keep the lights on at your house. I horribly paraphrased that, but I laughed hysterically.
I love just an acknowledgement. Look, I always say this about companies, and this applies to wrestling as much as it applies to any political candidate. Hey, 'tis the season, and or any company out there. If you're spending the vast majority of your time comparing yourself to some other company, or some other individual, some other performer, or someone else in your field, you've immediately showed to me that you're not as good as them. You feel you're not, and you're trying to be just a little bit better than them. And maybe you are sometimes, but usually, nah, probably not. So I love WWE when they can acknowledge without being like, hey, those guys are bad. We're not those people. But it's just still a little slight like, hey, not only does this universe exist, there's other universes as well. And that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Tee-hee. Inside joke, you're rewarded for listening. Tee-hee.
So, just one more time, I wanted to say thank you to Jimmy Jacobs for
Yes,
that.
thank you, sir.
He gave us so much more time than I thought we deserved.
I know. I felt like we were greedy. But at the same time, it's like, dude, I ain't stopping him.
Well, the thing was, like, I'd ask a question and then, like, he would answer it, and then he would basically answer what I wanted to, or, like, kind of, it's like he was leading me to the next question anyway. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose or if we were just having...
It's called a conversation, Justin. I've heard of them. Never had one myself, but I've heard of them. They're pretty interesting, I guess.
But he just kept leading me to, oh, man, now I got to ask that. I got to...
Like, if we forced him to answer just yes or no questions, he would have exploded to a million pieces, and they would have coalesced here in this room with us, smacked us, and then returned home to wherever home may be.
But I like offering the alternative. Like, we're a wrestling program for sure, and we will talk ins and outs, nuts and bolts of professional wrestling
On occasion, when it suits.
but that's just it. Like, that's aren't all we are. And you should know that even the professional wrestlers, that's not all they are either.
No, certainly not.
And so it's nice to present a side of somebody that may have just been on your periph. He should be, because he's got a great pod.
Yeah,
Jim
dude.
Jacobs doesn't know. It's wonderful, or else I wouldn't be saying it.
You know, I definitely want to jump in there because it's just, there used to be, I mean, this is a number of years back, like Colt Cabana's podcast was fantastic, and I enjoyed it because it dealt, like, the Tommaso Ciampa episode is still one of my favorites of all time. Meant a hell of a lot to me. I don't know if it's still findable out there, but it was, again, seeing people as people. And this is the Jimmy Jacobs, now that Colt Cabana's podcast is gone, Jimmy Jacobs has taken that a step beyond and said, no, hold on. You're going to listen to some growth today.
Yeah.
Let's have at you now.
So must listens.
Yes.
Sami Zayn, PJ Black, Seth Rollins. I think they're all great, but those three are must
And
listens.
how deep is his catalog at this point?
I think he's like 20 episodes, maybe. It's not a lot. Like,
Well, no, you hit those hurdles, man. You know what those hurdles are.
yeah.
What are those hurdles, Justin? Number 3, number 5, number 10, number 12, and then, right about 16, 18 in there.
25 is the one that came out today.
If you've made it 25, you're good.
Yep.
You're good. You're going to get to 50 and be like, well, this is what I do now. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is an important part of my life, and I do it.
And it's just a nice look at, because you get to learn a lot about some guys that you probably don't even know about.
And I feel he's really wants to put that perspective out there, too, and that it's not just wrestlers either. Everybody has that story. You can go and you could talk to anybody about anything, and you will get their perspective on it. And that's an amazing gift that just sentience has, man. You can go and just say, hey, how are you doing? And they'll have and that person will have an answer for you. And it's as deep as they want to make it, or as shallow as necessary for the moment's appropriateness. And he's well beyond the moment's appropriateness and well deep into, like, no. Let's go a little deeper than that. How are you? What are you? How are you? How, though? Madness.
Yep.
On the brink of madness is where brilliance always is, man. And he's circling that like a madman. 'Tis great. Tis. That's it. Tis.
Indeed, you did.
I'm gonna kick your ass, you jerk. I'm not. You're all lean now. Look at this. Look at this handsome the man over here, rocking the shirt. That was like tight a month ago. What are you doing?
224. Feels good.
It's way later than that. It was like 10:44. Oh, okay. Hey, everybody at Hashtag WrestlePals. Hi, how you doing? What did you know? Oh, okay. I'm going to get a running start. Ready? Hey, everybody. I'm going to get a waddling start. Just don't laugh at that. Son of a bitch. Why did you do the visual? Good night,
He's a
everybody.
vegetable, you son of a bitch.
God damn it. Hey, everybody. Hashtag WrestlePals. Thank you for watching. If you dig us, dig what we do, why don't you participate? Follow along to Facebook. We usually do the thing live there. Facebook.com/WrestlePalsVA. If you want to support the show, hey, no. Let's get in the support part, okay? Should have got the cells in earlier near the interview. Damn it. Patreon.com/OHIJustin. OHHI Justin.
See you later, Brian.
It's where you can support this show and a ton of other shows this dude's doing, including interviews with children. It's okay, he's allowed to legally.
I'm not. I wouldn't call them necessarily interviews. We're just talking about their day.
That's impressive.
It's
See,
fun.
look at you learning from Jimmy Jacobs already. You're like a step beyond. You're like, oh, you're talking to adults? I'm going to the source, sir. I'm going to children. This is
Thank you,
the best.
Matt.
But hey, and it supports hashtag WrestlePals. It supports Deprogram, the finest music show on the internet. Check it out. It's
Lady
ridiculous.
Gaga tomorrow.
Half game show, half friendships ending. It's amazing. Oh, tune in, would you? You get the Oh Hi Justin Pod, a daily dose of madness and the family, and you make him happy. Look at him. Look at him. Because of your support, he remains this handsome. I don't know. I can't even believe that
I'm
one.
devilishly handsome now.
All right.
Look at me.
Is it the horns?
You know,
Is it?
let's not make a big
We
deal
almost
of it.
got
You know?
through the whole damn show without one of those two idiots popping up.
I should have busted out Norm when we still had Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy Jacobs there.
The video pod. I'm just annoying people now. I'm sorry. Better hurry up, eh? The video podcast, you get the entire back catalog, YouTube. Search for hashtag WrestlePals, spell it out. If you don't want to see our ugly faces, if you don't want to see my ugly face and you can't take any more of this handsome over yonder, the audio version is available wherever podcasts happen to be, I don't know, podcasted. Hey, that almost makes sense. If you want to get in touch with the show, Twitter, at WrestlePalsVA. It's Justin. So why don't you just reach out to Justin himself, at The Hulkster on Twitter. That's legit, at The Hulkster. Follow, and you will be rewarded every day. Because he will tell you, hashtag you the best. And you know what? He right. He right.
I am.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, at The Nate Project. I see every notification and it weirds me out and freaks me out. And weirdly, it helps. And thank you for that. Let's not get too real. Hey, everybody. We ended the music yet?
Yep,
Have I said other things?
I think so.
Enough of them anyway, though, right?
Uh-huh.
All right. I gotta go home.
I gotta poop.
Like, hi, these bullshit. That's my favorite part of them. I gotta go take a dump. No, don't get me out of that. Goddamn hashtag WrestlePals. I lost my keys and my little dog is bone. So I pick him up and I'm gonna carry home. But he a mean dog, bit me in the spare rib. And I'm take him home, put him in the baby crib. Yeah, I don't know the words, AJ Styles. You know who you are? You're phenomenal. Phenomenal.